Where you build your base will dictate how your wipe will play out. Therefore, your base location is a very important thing to take into account. It can decide whether or not you will have a prosperous wipe. As a Rust player with over 1200 hours, I want to share some tips on where you should build your Rust base next wipe. If you're just starting Rust, each map is different, so this video isn't giving any specific locations, just guidelines that you should follow and apply to your server's map. This video is divided into two parts, the actual guidelines and then things to avoid when looking for a place to build. The timestamps for each section can be found on screen now as well as in the description below. Finally, if you learn anything new, please consider dropping a like since it really helps me out. Now, let's get on with the guide. You should start looking for a place to build your base the second you wake up on the beach. Take a look at your map and identify two main things, a main monument and a safe zone. Main monuments are water treatment, train yard, and launch site. These will be the monuments where you go for PvP, component farming, and loot finding. If you're new to Rust, I recommend water treatment since there's no radiation and a good amount of boxes scattered around. As for safe zones, they're extremely useful for trading and recycling and safety. If you're new to Rust, I recommend building close to a safe zone since you can't be harmed while recycling components. Once you get to the area that you deemed suitable, then you'll have to look for a more specific place to build a base. Look around and find a flat spot in the area. It doesn't have to be exactly where you wanted, just based on the map. Survey your terrain and look for rock formations and trees. Resource nodes spawn near rocks, mountains, cliffs, and in the snow. What I usually do is build on the edge of the forest near a few rock formations or near the snow. That way I have easy access to stone, sulfur, metal, and wood without having to venture far. Alright, well, I just got to Q14. I'm a bit south of where I marked, but that's okay. This looks like a pretty good place to build. There's trees, there's nodes, snow's up there. Now we just have to find a more specific place to build. The last step is to just build your base. If you're just starting Rust, I recommend a 1x1 or a 2x2 since they're the easiest bases to build with a large amount of versatility. Most Rust players that I've seen will usually chain 2 or 3 monuments together when roaming. For this reason, I usually avoid building in between major monuments and stick to the side of the direct route. Spawn Beach is where everyone spawns and usually occupies a whole side of the island. On that side of the island, there will be high amounts of traffic and primitive fights, and you won't be able to progress into the wipe that easily. Avoid building in what I will call corridors for lack of a better word. Corridors are essentially Rust highways where players will pass through very often. Usually they're found leading from monuments to safe zones such as bandit camp and outposts, but can also be found leading from monuments to other monuments. As a beginner, avoid the snow. The snow is the coldest place on the Rust map. You'll immediately start freezing in your base when you spawn in, and to prevent that you'll have to waste a bunch of wood upkeeping campfires, or you'll have to learn electricity in order to utilize heaters in your base. If you want to build in the snow, just build a bit to the side, not directly in it. That way you won't freeze, but you'll still be in that position that you want. Always try to avoid building in the low ground. If anything happens in your area, you'll have an immediate disadvantage. I recommend building higher than your surroundings, that way if a fight breaks out in your area, you'll immediately have a better or equal position. Well, I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, please consider leaving a like. If you'd like to see anything more, subscribing wouldn't hurt. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below or come over to my Twitch over at twitch.tv/mamamisi where I can answer them for you live. Finally, if you'd like to see any other guide, please leave your suggestions in the comments below and I'll try to make it happen. Anyway, that's been it from me. I hope you have a wonderful day and don't get fucking door camped.